BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Gully Singh and this is the Scottish Football Podcast, keeping you up to speed with everything you need to know about the national game. It's Tuesday the 3rd of December and D-Day for Scotland in their quest to reach the Women's Euros.
It's a cup final, it's a playoff to go to the Euros, it's a massive game. So yeah, you don't really need much more. And yeah, the players are feeling good, pretty relaxed to be honest in camp, and yeah, preparing well.
After Friday's 0-0 draw, can Caroline Weir lead the side to victory in Finland? Also,
Adams for Morrison. Oh, that's a fabulous finish! Less than 60 seconds after being pulled back.
after Falkirk progress, we've reaction to the Scottish Cup 4th round draw. And
drops Tavernier's way, he shoots and scores! And how often has he been the man for this club?
is age just a number for James Tavernier?
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Yeah, as mentioned, I'm Gully Singh, and pleased to say, joining me on today's podcast, Joelle Murray, former Hibs and Scotland defender. Good morning, Joelle.
Good morning, Gully. How are you?
I'm very well. You good yourself?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
Yeah, presumably it'll be fingers and toes crossed. I mean, in about 12 hours' time, I suppose we'll know how Scotland are looking in their desire to qualify for Euro 2025.
Yeah, everything crossed in anticipation for that. Hopefully that qualification later on today, Gully.
Yeah, fingers crossed. John Walker, good morning, John. Coach, analyst and host of the Scots Abroad podcast. How you doing, John?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
John, I've just always been curious. I know it's been mentioned about your facial hair. Your beard is fantastic. Is beard oil always the way to go for a good Christmas present?
Beard oil and darkening stuff always when you get to the grey ages. Anything that keep the beard looking full.
No, it looks great. It looks great. So plenty to discuss with you guys. So let's dive straight in. So it was East Kilbride 1, Falkirk 3 in last night's game of the Scottish Cup 3rd round, with the 4th round draw taking place after the final whistle. John, I'll just start with yourself. I know you spent some time at East Kilbride. What did you make of the game? I mean, it looked comfortable enough for Falkirk in the end, but East Kilbride, they gave a good account of themselves.
Yeah, I think anyone that's went and watched East Kilbride, they've got good players, they've signed well, and they've got good philosophy. They play well, but unfortunately, I think John McGlynn's well versed in how Mick Kennedy's sides want to play. So a lot of the good philosophy of East Kilbride came through, but a lot of Falkirk's smart coaching came through as well. They kind of let East Kilbride play in their half, and the minute they tried to get into Falkirk's half, they just shut it down. So a lot of nice football from East Kilbride, but I did say before we started, I think unfortunately for East Kilbride, Falkirk were probably the worst team. I mean, it's definitely the worst team they could have got in the last round, but for style and philosophy, it's probably the worst team they could have faced as well.
And Joelle, Falkirk rewarded with that home tie against Raith Rovers in the next round. It'll be a tough game, won't it?
Yeah, it will be indeed. Two teams who are always very competitive whenever they come up against each other. And I think just to echo what John said about Falkirk last night, I was extremely impressed with them, albeit they were playing a team, an opposition, lower divisions than them, but they had a game plan, and they knew that East Kilbride were going to be a difficult opposition, and they smothered the ball, like John said, in those areas, those trigger areas, and really went on to capitalise. And I think, like I said, especially the first half last night, I was really, really impressed by the way Falkirk played. But equally so East Kilbride, I like the fact they didn't compromise the way they play, who they are. They still tried to build through the thirds, build from their goalkeeper, but ultimately, in the end, across the 90, Falkirk were just too strong for them.
Well, let's just take a look at the 4th round draw. In full, it looks like this: Dumbarton versus Airdrie Unions, Cove Rangers versus Forfar Athletic. It's a Dundee derby. It's Dunfermline Athletic versus Stenhousemuir, Falkirk versus Raith Rovers, St Johnstone versus Motherwell, Queen's Park versus Montrose, Ross County take on Livingston, Hibernian host Clydebank, Fraserburgh travel to Ibrox to face Rangers, Brecon City at home to Hearts, it's Queen of the South versus St Mirren, Hamilton Academico versus Musselburgh Athletic, Elgin City in a battle of the North East against Aberdeen, it's Broxburn Athletic against Scott Brown's Ayr United, and holders Celtic take on Kilmarnock.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
John, let's just start with the Dundee Derby Dens, this is the tie of the round, would you say?
A tie of the round that's been drawn out, yeah, definitely. It's probably the only SPL v SPL game that I'd have been interested in seeing. I think when I seen Celtic Kilmarnock getting drawn out, I was like, I really hope there's not loads of Premier League ties. I hope somebody gets the big reward that Fraserburgh got. But yeah, the Dundee Derby's the one that stands out. I'm sure it'll be one of the 4 televised games. That'll be a really, really good game.
Yeah, and Joelle, Derek McInnes has this knack of getting results against the old firm, but Celtic versus Kilmarnock should be decent enough.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. Like you said, they've got previous in cup competitions, and Derek McInnes has its fair share of success in that fixture. But like John said, it's always nice to see the smaller teams get a big team in these early rounds of the competition, because the cup games are never easy. There's no easy game. We've seen previously in the competition there's been big upsets, so a lot of those teams that you've just read out will be hoping for the same.
And Highland League side Fraserburgh, they've been rewarded for their victory over Annan Athletic. They travelled to Ibrox to take on Rangers. But John, this is what the cup's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with Bucky Thistle last year as well. It's actually really, really nice to see a Highland League team getting rewarded and getting the big payday. I think Elgin would have been happy if they'd got the Aberdeen game reversed to Pittodrie, but no, I'm sure Fraser. But I know they said before the draw they weren't really interested in getting the big tie. They were quite happy to try and get a tie they could get through. I'm sure their board and chairman won't be too unhappy.
Yeah, indeed. And any other ties that stand out for you guys, Joelle? Any other ties that sort of come off the page there?
Obviously for me, a bit biased, but Hibs Clydebank. But like I said, albeit a lower division team, in this competition, no fixture is an easy one. So thankfully we've been drawn at home. But certainly it'll be one that we can't disrespect the opposition. So yeah, bit biased for me, but Hibs Clydebank from me, Gully.
And John, any other ties?
No, that's the one for me. The last time the Scottish Cup, the leaders of the West Premier Division were drawn against a Premier League side, there was quite a big upset on a Monday night down in Darvel. So unfortunately for Hibs, it's at home. But Clydebank haven't conceded in 8 games now. Top of the West Premier, kind of ticking through the cup competitions. They were very convincing against Bucky on Saturday, albeit the Bucky were kind of depleted. But it would have been nice to have seen if that had been reversed. But hopefully Hibs fans fill the ground. Clydebank makes some money, and it's a good game.
Okay, let's talk about Scotland, shall we? Pedro Martinez-Losa's side take on Finland in Helsinki's Bolt Arena at 5:15, with the tie in the balance following Friday's 0-0 draw at Easter Road. Joelle, what did you make of Scotland in the first leg?
Yeah, I think it was probably a bit of a tentative performance from Scotland. I don't know if there was many nerves in the team. A 2-leg tie, but I don't know, it looked as if players were almost playing within themselves. We probably lacked that creativity in the final third. I thought, not to discredit Finland, I thought they were excellent. They had a game plan. They tried to stifle us, smother us in the middle of the pitch and play on the counter, which they done very, very well. So yeah, it seemed quite a tentative performance on Friday night from us.
Naturally, will there be disappointment not to take a lead to Helsinki, or was it all about making sure they're still in the tie?
Yeah, I think probably a bit of both, Gully. I think home advantage, they would have expected and hoped to win that tie, win that first leg in front of a big home crowd at Easter Road, but equally so, they're still in the game. It's 0-0. They can go over there, and if there were any nerves on Friday night, they can go over there now and probably put those nerves and place those nerves on Finland, with them now being at home. So yeah, I think probably a bit of both. Disappointment not to take advantage of the home advantage, but equally so, they're still in the tie, very much so, and they know they can play better.
John, how much pressure is on the players going into this game, knowing it's a winner's take all?
Yeah, I think the idea that Carroll and Weir at Edinburgh but don't get to a major tournament next year would be kind of unthinkable. I think we've got enough quality. I think we're the last team to win in Finland with Scotland, and I know Carroll and Weir and Cuthbert were in the team in those games. Carroll and Weir scored the goal the last time we won there. So although the performance was pretty poor, I think Finland were kind of set up to really break well. I think we've got too much quality, and I would expect us to show that tonight.
How do you expect Martinez-Losa to approach the game? I mean, You know, you could even go to, I suppose, extra time as well. You don't know how it's going to be decided, but do you have to just take it half by half?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those ones. It's a cup final, Gully. I think we need to approach the game knowing that we need to win. We can't be too tentative. We can't start slow, like I think we did on Friday evening. But equally so, getting the balance between not being too expansive too early, not opening up, because what that'll do, it'll give Finland the confidence, the momentum, and put them on the front foot. So I think being very strong defensively, which I thought we were on Friday, especially Sophie Howard, and Eartha Cummins pulling off a fantastic save early in the first half. But I think it's getting the balance between going out, getting on the front foot early, but not being too expansive, leaving those spaces, those gaps in between the lines that Finland like to play in. So, I'd like to see a bit more courage, bravery, creativity in the final third, and really just taking the game to Finland from the first minute.
John, you mentioned Scotland got a result there, albeit a friendly, but Finland haven't lost a home game in almost 18 months. Will that friendly win for Scotland have any bearing on tonight?
Just more for the confidence of the players that have experienced it. I think 7 of our squad played in the game, but yeah, I would agree since that game, Finland's form at home has been really impressive, and to be honest, I've only seen the highlights of the Montenegro game when they won 5-0, but they looked very convincing with the ball, and they were more dominant with the ball than I expected them to be. They've decent results against Italy and Netherlands, and I think those are the kind of comparable teams when I look at results we've had. They beat Serbia 8-0 in that run you're talking about. Scotland drew away in Serbia, so that's not... When you're comparing results, when you can't really see the full game, it's a bit nervy, but at the same time, I think any team that's got Erin Cuthbert and Caroline Weir in it, I've got to fancy our chances.
Yeah, and disappointment for Scotland in their last playoff. Joelle losing to the Republic of Ireland in that World Cup playoff. Will that play on the players' minds? I mean, Caroline Weir spoke about it yesterday. She says it's far from on their minds, but does that sort of play its part?
I'd like to think if it does play its part, Gilly, it's from a positive perspective, because they will still feel and appreciate all the emotions that came on the back of that defeat and poor performance. So if it does play its part, I'd like to think it's a positive part. The girls don't want to feel those emotions, don't want to be back in that dark place again. So I'd like to think they can use that moment as a kind of motivator.
Yeah, and big games, require big players. Martha Thomas expected to be fit after struggling with illness and being subbed after an hour in the first leg. How much of an impact is she for Scotland?
Yeah, Martha's massive. She's obviously their target player. Their number 9. There's not an abundance of strikers or out and out 9s in the squad. So Martha is absolutely crucial for them. So to see her come off so early on Friday was quite worrying. But it's really, really positive to hear that she's overcome that and she's fighting fit to play later today. But she's crucial. Her goals to games ratio is incredible at this level. So the girls, equally as much as they look at Caroline and Erin in the middle of the pitch to be creative and be the match winner, they'll look at Martha in the same light.
And John, who else needs to perform well if Scotland are to get a positive result in Helsinki? Gemma Fahey said after Friday's game that Scotland need more from their big players, the likes of Caroline Weir, Erin Cuthbert and Sam Kerr. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's been very clear for me. I think it felt like they were all kind of doing their own individual thing and maybe trying to be the person that led the team instead of maybe combining a little bit better in the final third. But I do think it'll be one of those people. I really expect Caroline Weir and Erin Cuthbert are stars in any other country. They've been to 5 or 6 major tournaments. So I expect them to stand up, and I think it will be one of them that are the match winners, whether it's been actually scoring goals or dominating the game.
Well, it's the all-important question. Prediction time. Joelle, we'll start with yourself. How do you see the game going?
I'll go a Scotland win and I'll go a 2-1 result, Gully.
We'd take that all day. And John, what about yourself?
I think single goal as well, so I'll go 1-0. I'll go 1-0. I think we need to keep a clean sheet.
And just finally, before we go, I know this is a specialist subject for you, John. 33-year-old Rangers captain James Tavernier has insisted that he's fitter than ever and the age is no problem for him despite losing his place in the team of late. What do you think? Is age catching up with James Tavernier, John?
Yeah, I think the positional specific as well is a key factor. I think players that are like Craig Gordon's defying age, but he's a goalkeeper, and if you look after yourself, you can defy age at goalkeeping. I think centre-halves can get away with it a little bit as well, but I think in the fullback areas, especially the type of fullback James Tavernier's been for 9 seasons now, people don't tend to hit a peak at 33. There does tend to be a decline. If you're not a massive defensive fullback, that becomes notable. If you're not able, it's hard because the one data that we cannot get as analysts is you do not get the player's private running stats to compare that. So James Tavernier will have something, I would assume, that he's going on, whether that is his data coverage, whether that is his running, his sprints and high intense running. There'll be something that he's clinging on to, but his aerial duels, his duels are down, his assists are down, his goals are down. I know Rangers aren't getting a lot of penalties this season, which is probably allowing a lot of people to make that joke. His chance creation's pretty steady. So his stats are probably there, but the fitness ones are the ones that we don't have access to, so we can't really comment. But what the eye test shows you is that he's a 33-year-old fullback who used to rely on pace to go up and down the line. Yeah,
in terms of the role of the fullback in the modern game, is it more difficult for a fullback when they get older to sustain that level of performance?
Yeah, I don't think you're sustaining that. I don't think anyone that thought James Tavernier was going to hit 33 and still be able to do what he was doing for Rangers was on to something different. I think we needed to start transitioning James Tavernier out of the team a year ago, but he was just too valuable to what we were doing. I think fullbacks will start to get away with it with the modernisation of the position, and veteran fullbacks, sometimes the fullback stays back in a free. So there might be longevity for other fullbacks to come, you like to Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I think even we've seen down in England, and before anyone starts, I'm not comparing Kyle Walker to James Tavernier, but watching the Man City-Tottenham game, I thought my eyes were deceiving me, but to see somebody like Timo Werner actually run past Kyle Walker was kind of nice, because I can't remember the last time in football that Kyle Walker got outdone by anyone. So I do think fullbacks generally start to decline around 32, 33.
Yeah, Kyle Walker, we almost reflect on him as like the fastest man on the planet. Joelle, do you think James Tavernier is showing his age? And as a player, how difficult is it to adjust or even change your style as you get older?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with everything John said there. I think the nature of that position, James Tavernier's made a career on being a fullback who's been able to go box to box for 90 minutes, and you can see his output, his final product this season isn't what it's been and what we're used to, and I think that's a byproduct of him getting older and being unable to make those runs consistently throughout the game. So it's difficult as a player, because probably mentally in his mind he knows what he should be doing and knows that he could potentially still be doing it, but physically, unfortunately, as you get older, your body doesn't allow. So it's a difficult one, because you either need to look at the team to adapt the playing style, the philosophy, or look at yourself as an individual and see if you can try and adapt what you're doing, or potentially see, like me, I started my career right mid. As I got older, I moved centre mid. As I got older, I moved centre back. So it's one of those ones you need to appreciate your age, appreciate what you can and can't do at the stage of your career, and maybe adapt accordingly.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Many thanks to Joelle Murray and John Walker, and thank you for listening. Remember, you can watch Finland versus Scotland, and that's all important Euro 2025 playoff on BBC Alba on the iPlayer and on the BBC Sport website and mobile app. You can also listen to live commentary on BBC Radio Scotland Extra, and of course there'll be live updates and comprehensive online coverage as well. Coverage starts from 5 o'clock. The game kicks off at 5:15. It's a busy period of football. Enjoy the midweek action. We shall chat soon.
Just a quick reminder, the Behind the Goals podcast is available every Tuesday with me, Rachel Corsey, and me, Leanne Crichton. It's your one-stop shop for our take on everything that's happening in the world of football. Just head to BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts and search for Behind the Goals.